the big kiss-off is the 24th episode of the 6th season of Cheers. This is the penultimate episode of the 6th season, which is heartbreaking because getting through these pretty quickly. And this is, of course, directed by the wonderful James Burrows. And as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And as is usually the case, it's a really solid episode. It starts off with Frasier coming in. Norm asks him if he got home okay. Apparently he was very drunk the night before and Frasier had challenged somebody and Norm is taunting him with this. It's a fun way to start things off. The rest of the episode only has one main narrative and this begins because Rebecca tells Woody he looks quite cute in his shirt. Probably not an appropriate thing for an employer to say to an employee, but nevertheless, it is adorable. Woody's really happy about this. And he confesses to the gang that actually, had it not been for Mr. Drake, he might have gone after Rebecca. And he says that he could, because they don't think he would ever have a chance with her, he says that he can get a kiss from Rebecca by midnight that night. And Cliff says he has as much chance of doing that as Sam does. And Sam thinks this is outrageous. He thinks he's got a much better chance of kissing Rebecca than Woody does. So they start to place bets for who's going to be able to do it. And understandably, given Rebecca's very open dislike of a lot of Sam's personality, people are betting on Woody. And Frasier asks, what does the loser get? And Cliff offers a kiss from Norm. So there we have the main narrative, and the big question is, of course, will anybody kiss Rebecca by midnight? Carla says to Sam that a lot of people are still coming into the bar wanting to meet the sexy bartender, but they're no longer always talking about Sam, which I think is quite interesting. That's also going to really hurt Sam's ego. But actually, he's starting to realise that maybe that is true. Maybe that's the case. Maybe people are finding Woody more attractive than they find him. And Sam realises he needs to take drastic action. So he pretends to choke next to Rebecca. And she starts thwacking him on the back, as most people would. And he tells her, no, it needs to be mouth to mouth. He's choking so much, he's able to say the words mouth to mouth multiple times. And he's about to lie down, and Rebecca asks the... I promise it's funny. Rebecca asks the bar, does anybody know mouth to mouth? And Al comes into shot and says, I do. And obviously Sam, not wanting to be kissed by Al, jumps up. And Al says, works every time. I love the fact that this was something Al thought was very funny. I think Al is just such a brilliant character. Woody then comes in and he's talking about how he needs to prepare for an audition that he has for a play called, well, he calls it Bus Station. It's a play called Bus Stop. And he asks Rebecca if she's willing to read lines with him so he can rehearse. And initially she says, no, she's too busy. And I think really she just would have been really uncomfortable with that. I think that's really why she said no. But Woody, with his puppy dog eyes, looks all sad and she finally agrees. So they go into Rebecca's office and Sam doesn't realise what Woody has done, and Carla ends up hitting him on the elbow with a tray, and Sam then tries to rush off to stop this situation. And Carla remarks to somebody, sometimes the little hamster falls asleep in the wheel, referring to the fact that Sam was very slow on the uptake. Interestingly, as soon as she said that, my first thought was, that's a comment Diane would make. That's absolutely something Diane would have said, which I think is quite interesting. Carla goes into the office to watch the scene because she has to witness the kiss. And just as they're about to get to this kiss, which is very, very early on in the scene, Sam barges in, keeps going on about vermouth and how he needs to order vermouth, and then he comes in to say he had ordered the vermouth, and Carla tells him to get out and play fair. And Rebecca asks what she means by play fair, but she doesn't look too deeply into it. And they're just about to kiss. It seems like Woody is about to win. And then in true Woody fashion, he realises he ordered vermouth yesterday. And he thinks Sam is genuinely ordering vermouth. So he rushes out to stop Sam from over-ordering. And, well, Woody has blown his chance there. We're back in the bar. And Sam is with a woman called Caroline, played by Caroline Francis, and it wasn't to me immediately clear what he was doing, but he's talking quite loudly with Rebecca in the room that Caroline has a problem with her boss. So Sam kisses her very deeply, very passionately, and Caroline responds, "If I kiss him like that, he's bound to fall in love with me." And Caroline leaves, and of course Sam is hoping that Rebecca will ask Sam to kiss her the same way so she can kiss Evan Drake the same way so he'll fall in love with her. And he saunters up to her behind the bar and he asks her, "These lips remind you of anything?" And Rebecca responds, "Yeah, I think the liver in my freezer has gone bad." Rebecca has some really amazing responses to Sam's constant attempts at hitting on her, and I just think she's fantastic. Rebecca then speaks with Carla privately and asks her what's going on because she can tell that both Sam and Woody are desperately trying to kiss her. Carla plays innocent, but then Rebecca says she'll get a paid day off if she tells her the truth, and Carla explains what's happening. And then Rebecca says, "Don't tell them I know," which I love. I thought that was a brilliant direction in which to take this, because now Rebecca is going to cook up some kind of scheme and Carla's going to be involved as well. And I love it when we have people working with Rebecca. Certainly as season 6 has gone on, Rebecca has become more and more part of the gang. I would say we're at a point now where I would say she's friends with everybody, even Sam. But that's kind of happened gradually. She started to have, I think Norm was her first friend, and then she'd kind of become friends more and more with people, and I feel like we're now at a point where Rebecca is one of the gang. There's maybe still a slight difference because she is the boss, but it's very different to when Sam was the boss. But I would say she's now one of the gang, and working with Carla makes me very happy. Woody then tries to hypnotize her, and I thought she was going to play along here, but actually she just says, "Woody, go to sleep," and he does. Frasier manages to wake him up with a click of his fingers, and we have this brilliant couple of seconds, and I thought this was really, really well done. Frasier says to the bar, "Sitting in a bar today, we have, among others, a man who is actually simple enough to hypnotize himself. I'd like to offer a suggestion that we've seen it all." And then Sam comes in, bellows 10 hut, and he's wearing his army uniform. He is wearing an army uniform. And Frasier responds, "Happily, I stand corrected." And I love this. And this is one of the amazing things about Cheers and why it works so well. Because it's a bar setting. At any moment, anybody could walk through that door. And that means, and we have seen, so many different characters. And it makes it so unpredictable. And that is my cat meowing. I apologize if you can hear her. And I absolutely love that because you just never know who is going to walk through that door next and what they're going to be wearing. And I just think it's so wonderful. And of course, Sam tells Rebecca he's about to be shipped out, so he needs to have a goodbye kiss from her. And she plays along for a second and then decides against it. And then she tells him that actually she wants to talk to him privately. The gang sing George M. Cohan's Over There, which I love, absolutely brilliant song. And she tells him she knows what he's doing and she wants him to win. And they come up with a plan. And then as soon as Sam leaves, she says the same thing to Woody. Clearly she's cooked up something, and we're about to find out what that is. Sam comes into the bar about to execute the plan he thinks he's created with Rebecca, and it's just Cliff alone in the bar. I think it's been a while since we've seen the bar quite empty. Usually whenever we see the bar empty, it would be when Sam and Diane would have alone time, whether that's arguing or otherwise. But we have just Cliff and Carla and then Sam, and Sam goes into the dark office, and as planned, he kisses who he thinks is Rebecca, lying down on the couch, and it becomes quickly apparent that this is Woody. Cliff starts singing Sam and Woody kissing in a tree. Everybody joins in. The whole gang is there. And what I love about this, I love this for two reasons. One, Cliff started singing it and Carla joined in. And it's not the first time we've seen this, but Carla joining in with something that Cliff has initiated is so rare and a delight to see. And also, Rebecca was joining in, and as I said before, she does feel like part of the gang. And this was definitely reinforced with the previous episode, actually, Bar Wars. And then we have this again, and it's just really giving us a good position to beginning the next season, where it's no longer Rebecca versus everybody else. And I think that they definitely took the pacing really believably. I feel convinced that this is a genuine experience for Rebecca, and that she has over time softened to everybody else and is definitely starting to just be like one of the gang, which is not saying much for Diane, because even 5 seasons into it, Diane was never truly one of the gang. Obviously, over time, it became a little bit easier, particularly when she and Sam seemed like they were going to be forever, which breaks my heart. But it's definitely happened much more quickly for Rebecca than it ever did for Diane. And Rebecca says something that I think was really necessary. She does say, I am a person who cannot be used. And I like the fact that she did take the time to point out that actually this is an unacceptable thing to do and you shouldn't mess with somebody like this. But of course, the comedy swoops in immediately after, as she says, now if you'll excuse me, I've got to drive Mr. Drake's valet to the airport. She leaves, everybody leaves, Norm is still there, and he tries to placate the situation as Woody and Sam are getting quite aggressive with each other, and then he tells them to kiss and make up. He leaves, and we have a nice bonding moment between Sam and Woody as they realise that their friendship is significantly more important than the trick that's just been played on them. And then Woody basically chases Sam out of the office as he tries to ask Sam how he was at kissing. And it's a nice, light-hearted way to end the episode. It's a solid episode. I think specifically for Rebecca and what she brought to this as being part of the gang, I loved. But just as a whole, I thought it was a really solid episode. The big kiss-off is pretty great. Just one more episode left of season 6, and then we only have 5 seasons left, so well over halfway now, which is heartbreaking. But the big kiss-off is definitely a really brilliant, very unpredictable, thoroughly enjoyable episode of Cheers.